Okay, guys, everyone, good morning, everyone. I am excited to be here. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, all right. I mean, it's a great pleasure to be here to share a few words with everyone. Basically, these are very interesting times, and I love to talk about opportunities. I love to talk about, share my thoughts on issues around entrepreneurship and what startups can do to make a difference. So it's indeed a great pleasure for me to be sharing a few thoughts with you guys. Okay, so let me just jump at it. Currently, I serve as the regional director for Africa for Founder Institute. Founder Institute is a global pre-seed accelerator based out of Silicon Valley. And our goal is to help people go from idea to their startups in 14 weeks, or their business or their ideas, like help them take it to the market in 14 weeks. And I also am the founder of a hub. It's called Go Do Hub. Also, I present tech trends on Channels TV, and I also write for The Punch. These are some of the few things that I do today to sort of help make people understand how to use technology, and also to help people understand how to leverage technology for their enterprise and their businesses. But one of the things that's very interesting for me today is Founder Institute. And for me, when I look at this map, for example, I'm always wondering, I'm saying to myself, now Founder Institute is just one of the many programs that can help people go from idea to business. But before I became the regional director, we had just two flags, or two maps in two countries. That was one was in Egypt, and then in Cote d'Ivoire, somewhere in West Africa. Every other place was empty. When you look at other parts of the world, you see dots everywhere. But in Nigeria, in Africa, it was just two countries. And since I became regional director, I've helped to increase the map a bit. And so we have close to 10 now. The goal is to make it between 12 and 20 before the year runs out. But really, that's not the drive. The drive actually is to help people in these various countries build better businesses, build better enterprises. And I believe that Founder Institute has one of the great curriculums that I've seen in terms of startup development that anyone can leverage. So that's why I'm very excited about it. But yeah, coronavirus has changed the world as we know it. For the past 6-7 years, I mean, I started writing for my column in The Punch now is about 8 years old. And so I remember that from that time, I've been screaming and talking about the fact that, we need to embrace technology as a country. We need to leverage technology better. I've just been talking about it, and it sort of has been falling on, deaf ears, so to speak. Once upon a time, we had a minister of communication that was very passionate about startups, about technology, and when she left, it was as if everything took a nosedive, right? But now today, coronavirus has happened on everyone, and it has sort of accelerated the whole thing. Yes, on one side, it is not a very good thing. I mean, people are dying, the world is confused, many people are locked up in their homes, people are going to lose jobs, there's so much uncertainty. But on the other side, if you're a builder, or if you're an entrepreneur, if you're someone who can see even when others can't see, you would know that to a very large extent, it is also not extremely a terrible thing, because what would happen is that new businesses will be formed, new ideas will grow, and there'll be new entrepreneurs, so to speak. So you can also make yourself one of those entrepreneurs, or you can actually sit down and complain and be afraid. So the choice is every one of us who's listening, the choice is actually yours, what you decide to do. So yes, we know that it's not a very good time. The interesting thing is that many of these companies listed here, at least Airbnb, Lyft, Uber, these were companies that came as a result of a period of depression. That was between 2007 and 2009. These companies were formed because there was depression, and people needed to find a way to get on with their lives. And so they formed these companies. But today, 10, 12 years after, there is another crisis. And many of those companies that have become the unicorns of our days have had to readjust, right? And that's the interesting thing about life, right? It means that if these guys, Airbnb, for example, could have been founded at a period when the world was in shock and where people wanted to lease their apartments because they wanted to make extra money or because they felt that an extra room lying idle doesn't make any sense, you know, in the same way that people like you and I can actually look at this situation and try to come up with ideas, try to come up with solutions, try to come up with products that can also solve a problem, right? So for example, even if there is a work condition today, people would always eat. So if you're a startup founder around the agri value chain, you know that, and you get your marketing and everything right, your product right, you know that you would always be in business because people will always eat, right? So it's the same way, right? And today, a lot of us depend on technology for a number of things that we do. So it means that if you can sit down, you know, amongst yourself or yourself alone, you know, and think through a program or a product or a solution that can solve a problem, you would almost likely find a market. So yes, I know, I mean, this slide just talks about the fact that, oh, things are not easy, things are not going to be easy. And then of course, if you look at a country like Nigeria, it's even scarier because we don't even know, I mean, our social security system, people have very little savings, very low purchasing power, very low disposable income. So yes, it's very scary, right? And this slide shows that the ILO warning that, you know, as much as 1.6 billion people are in immediate danger of losing their means of livelihood. And the numbers might very well go higher than this, depending on how long the pandemic is with us, you know. But then, yeah, all of this is just the pointer of the fact that, yes, it is not business as usual. But then it also shows you that, yes, it's challenging. But yeah, like the saying says, tough times don't last, but tough people do. Yeah, this is the time where, you know, you have to determine what kind of person you want to be, or what kind of person you have chosen to be. Are you somebody who would see problems, and in that problems you'll find a solution, or you're one of those who would complain, you know, and cry all night about problems and not thinking of solutions, right? I mean, I have chosen to be someone who thinks of solutions. So yes, I understand the challenges. Yes, I understand that all the indices are down, but then I also understand that, you know, it takes great people to change the world, right? And for every one of you listening, you actually have a very unique opportunity to make a difference, right? You have age on your side. I mean, you are born in an age where technology is the norm for the day. Really, so you really don't have an excuse, right? So you just need to find how to effectively leverage technology, and because the days ahead are interesting, would be interesting, you would also layer it on entrepreneurship to make a difference. So you have the opportunity, you have all it takes, right, to try to make a difference, right, and try to be different, right? And one of the ways for you to start is for you to embrace technology. Now, when people hear people talk about technology, it is not just about you being able to use social media. I mean, that's fantastic, right? It's not just about you. It's about how can you leverage it as a tool to become better, leverage it as a tool to become more efficient as a person, leverage it as a tool to start a business, leverage it as a tool to learn a new language and stuff like that, you know. Many years ago, after I left my job, I was working in Globacom, right? And I started my first business. My first business was supposed to be in oil and gas, right? Well, not oil and gas per se. It was supposed to be in training, but then because where I had my office was the heart of oil and gas, that was at Papa then, I sort of deviated and I started I became an oil and gas guy, so I was doing supplies and stuff, right? Because of the money, you know. But that business failed, and it failed for a number of reasons, which is why today I'm so passionate about Founder Institute, because for me, it is just an opportunity to help people avoid certain errors. I mean, there were so many errors that I could have avoided that could have saved me the pain that followed. You know, after the business failed, it was like a 2-year pain period, right? But where I'm going is that after that business failed, right, I now came to a point where I said to myself, you know, I've got an option. It's either I find a new job or I sort of start something new. So I decided to go into a new direction. And the direction that I went was blogging. So I started blogging, right? Now, the guy I gave money to build my first blog, I don't know, for some reason, the guy didn't tell me that he was about to go to travel to the UK. He was leaving finally. He didn't tell me, right? And so I remember that I was so broke that I borrowed the money, you know, and I paid him, you know, to build the blog for me. And then this guy left for the UK, right? And he left. I didn't have a blog anymore, and I didn't get my blog. So what did I do, right? Because I didn't have money, I had to go online, YouTube to be precise. I started learning how to blog. So on my own, I built my first blog on the 9th of July, 2009, very ugly looking blog, you know, but yeah, I did it myself, right? I used WordPress. WordPress is a free platform. So I was looking at YouTube, I was trying out everything, and that was it. So that was the beginning of what you now see. So the truth is that if my oil and gas business didn't fail, if it had succeeded, I probably wouldn't, you know, be doing what I'm doing today, not Founder Institute, not many other things, because oil and gas is a different world on its own. But yeah, it failed, and then I'm here, right? But my point is that it's the same technology that people have, but I chose to use it differently, and I chose to use it to learn how to do very many things. So, and that combined with my passion for entrepreneurship. I mean, right from my days in school, I've always been an entrepreneur. You know, I mean, even if I can't remember my entrepreneurship journey during my secondary school years, I remember clearly that I was like a bunk dealer. I was a bunk merchant, right? So people will go home, I will wait back, I'll buy up the very juicy bunk spaces. And when they are coming back, you know, I'm selling it off. And, you know, so yeah, I mean, I've always just loved the process of turning ideas, opportunities, and making money off of it. I've just always loved that process, you know, and that's it for me about entrepreneurship. And I think that, you know, as the world evolves, you'll find out that, you know, even companies, even big companies would have people who are entrepreneurs. So they'll be entrepreneurs, but they're within a system, right? Because it will no longer be about your degrees, but more about your results, more about what you're able to achieve. I mean, that's really where the world is going. And for those of you that are already on this call, it's really a great opportunity for you to see what you want to do with these opportunities and see how to make a difference. And one way to achieve a lot is through entrepreneurship, right? And which is why it is great that you're on this call. But what is most important is that, you know, what is most important is that the call that you are on is something that you need to take advantage of it. Now, I'll tell you a story. I didn't start off being in media, right? I wasn't, you know, I wasn't looking forward to being in media. My goal was actually to, okay, yeah, be a consultant. Okay, so after I learned to build a blog, I started building websites using WordPress. So I was servicing a lot of people, you know, with my team. So we're building WordPress websites all over the place, right? And that was what I was doing, right? So media wasn't something I was exactly thinking of, right? But because I was a blogger, it was easy for me to transition to somewhere like a Punch. So I started writing for the Punch. But the media I'm referring to now is media around radio and TV. It was never in my plan. But then so I attended a program just like you're attending this program today. And that program, we had Mo Abudu, the founder of Ebony Live TV, talking about her experience. She was sharing how she went from being an executive in Mobile to becoming an to becoming a TV show host without experience, right? I found it very fascinating, right? And I said to myself, wow, okay, there's a gap in the tech space, right? So the tech guys do their things online, they have blogs, they have their community. But I said to myself, but there is a gap. The regular guy or the regular lady doesn't understand this whole tech jargon, this whole thing that we talk about. Why not expand the space by going into mass media? So yes, I'm part of the tech guys who talk all the tech stuff, but then I have a way of sharing the information, breaking it down in a way that the guys on the street or the regular guys will understand all about technology. And so I left that meeting with a goal. And part of my goal was that, you know what, I'm going to reach out to 10 media executives, and I'm going to share a few things to them about the need to have a technology show on their. Because then I wasn't thinking of TV, so I was just thinking of radio. So I said I was going to reach out to them, and so that morning, by the Monday, that was the Saturday event. By the Monday stroke the Friday of that day, I had about 10, 12 letters going out to various various radio stations directly to their CEO, informing them of who I am and why there is a need to have a technology show on their stations. Like everything in life, it's called time and chance. I got one response, and the response came from the CEO, the chairman of Nigeria Info, which is the guys that own Wazobia, Nigeria Info, Wazobia. And then the guys said to me that, hey, give it a shot, right? So I gave it a shot. So we did the demo, we did everything, and it worked. So I was there for 1 year. So then within that period, I was there for 1 year. I went to Channels TV. I was invited to Channels TV as a guest to come and talk about technology. And then I got there, and then as I finished the show, the head of the programs came out to ask me, would you like to have a show on Channels TV? I just said yes, right? Without even planning it. So I was prepared, right? And that was it, right? And next thing, we jumped into the studio. Today, that program is 5 years old. So my point is that one of the things that would make you stand apart as an entrepreneur is how you take advantage of opportunities, right? You just have to be prepared. You've got to be passionate about what you do, and you've got to be prepared, right? And then, I mean, in today's world, you can't think about entrepreneurship. I mean, if you want to think about entrepreneurship in a way that you can scale, right? You can't think about it without thinking about technology on one hand and innovation on the other hand. You've got to be able to marry the two alongside entrepreneurship to ensure that you make the most of it. And so today, when you hear things around Airbnb, when you hear things around Uber, even if you come to Nigeria, you hear things around Paga, you hear things around Kobo 360, startup, different startups that are out there. What is making them thrive, or what is making them stand apart, is the fact that many of them are leveraging technology and innovation for scale. All right. So if you're thinking of what business or what product or solution that you want to come up with, you just have to think about product and businesses and ideas that will sort of limit the level of human interaction, right? Even if there's a human interaction, it is there just to make it more efficient and more effective. But you must think about scale, right? How can you leverage these opportunities to scale? And honestly and truly, right, you really can do that. It depends on how you go about it. I mean, there are a lot of platforms that can help you achieve that, but really, it starts with you. What problem can you see out there that you want to solve, right? And if you look at the world, the way the world is today, right, every of the top global businesses are technology-enabled businesses, right? So, and that's why, even if you want to think about things around agriculture, right, how can you use technology to make agriculture better? My friend was telling me this morning that he has started a dry cleaning company. And I said to him, right, that dry cleaning, it's a good business, regular business, but then to stand out, all right, to make your business have a bit of skill, you've got to think of how to infuse technology into the business drastically. So that way, you can actually be a dry cleaning company, but you're a more efficient dry cleaning company, right? Yes, some things you can't escape. You can't escape washing the clothes, whether you're using washing machine or you're using hands, but you just can't escape that, right? But there are ways that you can ensure that you can have an app where your customers can call in. So the customer can call in and you drop the clothes somewhere, your guys will just come and pick it up. You can have various things around technology that just makes the process smoother. My point is that if you are young today and you are ever thinking of a business, you've got to think of a business or a solution that leverages technology as much as possible. Leverage technology to the maximum, right? Or be it as a platform or be it as a service, but just think about it, right? Facebook and all the platforms we use today, all the tech solutions we use today, they've all evolved to become a platform, right? So from Google is a platform, Amazon is a platform, Facebook is a platform. Like, you've got to think of how to become a platform, right? Now, even if you cannot achieve that in its entirety, you must think of how can I ensure that along the way, at every single point in time, I'm leveraging technology to the maximum to ensure that I become a better person in business, right? The world has changed, and the world has changed so rapidly, right? This is the digital era, right? The world has changed in very, very dramatic ways, right? And really, there's nothing, really, more like saying that nothing can bring it back to the way it was before, right? It has changed in a very dramatic way, and it's left for you and I, right? And especially for you guys who are much younger, to see how to make the most of these opportunities. It's very, very important, right? Extremely important. Okay, so yeah. So now, so there's this report that I like to read a lot. It's called Startup Genome, and they come up with a lot of research, right? They come up with a lot of research every now and then. They work on research on various topics, various times, you know. And one of the reports and the research they talked about was a report and a research of various startups. And it was them that actually sort of early enough built out a report that talked about how 50 of the world unicorns today are all product or mostly product of the 2007-2009 crisis. They came out with this report very early on in the pandemic. I think that was around February, March, the first report. And in that report, what they were trying to say with that report was that, hey guys, we know that these are very tough times, yes. And we know that a couple of businesses, a number of businesses will die. We know that people have lost job. People have lost job, and people will lose jobs, right? We know that there will be a lot of disappointments. People can't meet up their bills. But if we are to go by the 2007 to 2009 crisis, we saw that even back then too, people were losing jobs. And remember too, if you also go back, Netflix and Amazon and a couple of the companies we celebrated today were a result of the tech bubble that happened in the late 90s, right? So at every point in time, yes, when there's a crisis, new solutions, new businesses will always emerge. It just keeps happening, right? And so what they start to say in that report is that for people who are in any country, this is the time to support your startups and your small businesses the more. Because as you build a larger ecosystem, the economic value of your startups increase at every point in time, right? So, and that's why countries like Denmark and a couple of other countries, they are actually now paying salaries for startups. So if you are a startup, for example, in Denmark, and you're registered, the government will ensure that to keep your company afloat, they will pay your teams just because they understand the importance of not letting you die. Now, I know that it's interesting in Nigeria, so I understand that point. But the point is that, I mean, okay, so there's a 50 billion naira for SMEs to access and stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's where we are. But the point is that, you know, the reality of our country is that it's not like many other countries. But there are people who have used this same environment of challenges to make the best of themselves, right? So I tell you a story. In 2007, I went to interview a group of young guys in Yaba, right? These guys had an office in Yaba, so I went to interview them, you know, and it was a good interview, right? And then I remember that, you know, along the way during the interview, the place was like a flat, you know, but it was way deep inside Iwaya. And we had a good interview. I saw developers everywhere. It was it wasn't a very neatly arranged place, you know, but people were working, they were busy, they were coding, and I mean, okay, well, interesting. Now fast forward 2 years later, that company is a company that some of you will know, some of you may not know it, but it's a company that has raised close to $47 million altogether. And this is a company that started just less than 3 years ago, 3 years thereabout now. And they've added so much value. But I was there from the beginning. I saw the guys. I mean, I saw them building, and the guy had so much positive mindset about the whole thing. Every time he kept saying, "Oh, CFA, we are building a unicorn. We are building a unicorn. We are building what will change the world." He kept telling me, he was so confident, right? And today, I mean, each time I see the guy right now, over 150 team members, they've grown quite well, and I'm really, really excited. So it shows that, yes, and this guy, the interesting thing about him is that before he launched the business, because the business had to do it with the logistic business, before he launched the business, because he wanted to understand how logistics worked very well, he came in from the US, he left Lagos, he went to Kano and spent about 6 months in Kano. He doesn't speak Hausa, he doesn't know anybody in Kano before then, but he just went there. He took his family, actually, his wife, and he went there and he spent 6 good months in Kano. Why? He just wanted to understand logistics, how these guys operate. And today, this guy is building, and he's building hard, right? And so my point with that example is just to let you know that, yes, there are challenges. Yes, our environment is not as cool as many other environments, but that is where the opportunity is. And that is where you have to decide to stand apart and make a difference, okay? So new companies, according to the same report by Startup Genome, new and young companies create most of the net new jobs in the economy, right? And it's also the same with startups, because right now, what you would see happen in Nigeria, for example, is that the big companies would try to bring in technology. They will shed off some weight, so they would probably have to let some people go, right? The people that you will find hiring even in this pandemic will be smaller companies. So I can give for instance, as an example, is that even in the pandemic, we have been able to bring in 2 people to join us as a small team, right? Because even though, yes, there's a pandemic, but we still see that, there are some opportunities that our team can take advantage of. And if you follow me on social media, I published an internship opportunity for Founder Institute Lagos some days ago. And so it's just to show you that, yes, people would lose jobs, but yeah, there'll be openings for people. So during recessions, big companies actually, because they need to survive, they usually will cut down on staff. But young firms keep hiring, right? And if you go all over social media and some groups I belong to, I still see new startups, I still see young firms trying to hire companies, right? Even in Founder Institute, some of our new companies are trying to hire people, hire developers, hire teammates, look for co-founders. So yeah, so there'll be opportunities for young firms to keep growing, right? So globally, only 34% of entrepreneurs would operate their business without marketing, right? And so that also shows you that there's an opportunity in that area, right? And so, I mean, I just pointed this to show you that there are opportunities around SEO, there are opportunities around marketing automation, there's opportunities around various things, right? If you go to our markets today, very many of our markets, a lot of our people in those markets are not, they don't have an automated system, right? They're still manual all the way. So it means that someone like you who's listening can create a solution that you can find to sell to them, and just the whole idea is to just build up a marketing. So final thoughts as I round up this conversation, so that we can take some questions. Be ready to take on new challenges and seek new ways to make tech better, right? There are possible ways that tech can make you better, can make your business better, the world safer, and that should be your primary concern, right? How can you make the world better? So, I mean, I've used this period of pandemic to hit out some very business goals here and there. Now, while other people are crying, oh, there's COVID, oh, we are scared, oh, it's gonna hit us. Well, Well, what I did, and a couple of people that I know, is that we use this opportunity to find and retune and reshape our strategies for the future. Because, right, if COVID doesn't kill people, it doesn't kill, it means that there'll be life. Yes, so people will die, unfortunately, because of the way that the virus spreads and how the virus is selective on people, and also if people have underlying sicknesses. Yes, but then it doesn't hurt young people like it will hurt older people, right? So it means that for almost everyone listening to me this afternoon, you are likely going to survive COVID, right? You're likely going to get back and go back to school, or if you are waiting for service, you're likely going to serve, or whatever. If you have a job, you're likely going to go back to work at some point, right? The question is, how prepared are you for a post-COVID world? How are you trying to make a difference in your life, leveraging technology, right? Some people would say, yes, I'm too busy. There was one time when I was busy, when I was still doing a lot of teaching, I was at LBS on this day, and I had a group of pharmacists that I was trying to talk to about, that I was invited to talk to about digital technology and how to leverage technology to grow their business. That was a long time ago. That was about 8 years ago, right? And I remember in the midst of that pharmaceutical group, 70-year-old grandmother, and she walked up to me and she said, that she's always been fascinated about technology. Our kids are trying to get her to use it more. But so she asked me a question. She said, how do you think I can use it to better my pharmacy, to make my pharmacy more efficient, to build around my pharmacy? I said to her, Mama, all you need to do is just dedicate 2 hours every day. In fact, you can start with 1 hour. Just to make sure that 1 hour every day, you log into your Facebook or your Twitter or whatever you have, and you try to look for a new customer using technology. So yes, you have the side of it where you say hello to your friends, where you say hi to your friends. But I said to her, evolve to a side where you also use it as a way to promote your business, to grow, to find new customers and stuff like that. And interestingly, she kept up with me. She kept up with me, for about 1 month, 2 months. She was always giving me updates, feedback, and I found it very interesting, right? Now, that was a 70-year-old grandma, right? What about everyone here listening to me, right? It's not just about how well you use Twitter or how well you use Facebook. Those are fantastic stuff, right? But you also need to evolve to how many customers can you find with these platforms? How can you use this platform to grow an idea? How can you use this platform to test a market solution, right? And this is the way you need to be thinking, right? And that's why my next slide should be that the urge to create should supersede the urge to consume, right? You should be a creator, like you should be a creator. Like you should always think of creation. How do you create? How do you build stuff, right? I'm aware that this session is basically from 18 to 25, right? Mark Zuckerberg was 19 when he built Facebook. So it means that really, yes, Mark might be an outlier. Okay, he was born in the US, but yeah, there are also a lot of 19-year-olds that have done stuff and that made a difference, right? So how can you be one of those people post-COVID that can make a difference, right? So you must always think of how to create rather than how to consume, okay? And then you must always take advantage of opportunities, right? You must find opportunities and take advantage of opportunities. There are opportunities everywhere, but how can you take advantage? And then not be afraid of failures, right? Failing is part of life, right? But you must always be willing to fail and then to stand up and move again and quit stalling. You must always move, right? One thing I want to dwell on is the idea of digital literacy. Data literacy, right? Everyone listening should understand that data is the new oil or the new gold, if you like, right? You must think of how can I become more data efficient, more data literate? How can I leverage data? Because every business that you want to do going forward, you need a great deal of data. In terms of business intelligence, data in very, very many things that you want to do. So data is very critical as we go forward in the world. and every one of you have an opportunity to learn about data and the rest of it. So be teachable, right? And seek more knowledge by committing to a lifetime of learning, right? So the fact that you spend this time on your Saturday to be here listening to this shows that you want to learn, but you now need to go a step further and then practicalize what you have learned. You need to now use what you have learned and make a difference. A lot of people know a lot of stuff, but they never take action. So you must be willing to take action to execute and so that you become better. Now, if you don't do that, it means that you'll be someone with a lot of knowledge, but you have very little results. So it's time to build. Our post-COVID future is very interesting. You got to think of how to build. And for me, I would say that the Founder Institute is here to help, but then there are so many other platforms. There's TechQuest platform. TechQuest, I've been associated with TechQuest for a while, and TechQuest is doing an amazing job in terms of helping people to understand STEM, to get into the world of coding, to the world of programming. Programming and coding are skills that will be very important for the future. These are two skills that, you know, and it's really a programmer or a developer. Actually, it's a creator. Like if you are able to do this, you think at the level of creation. So on that note, I say thank you very much for listening. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, CFA, for that enlightening session. Thank you so much. So if you have questions across either the Zoom platform or the YouTube platform, please proceed to the chat section to drop your questions, and then we'll take them one after the other. Okay. For a start, there's a question from Oluyede Adewale. So is asking, sir, the question is, sir, earlier you talked about building a blog, and he has been having this passion for building one. Can you please expatiate on how he can start a blog without spending too much?
Okay, I think that so if I use my example, like I explained, somebody that I give money to build a blog, the person disappeared. And so when the person disappeared, I had no choice, but I had to find out how it was done, right? So I went onto YouTube and I discovered what they call WordPress, and I started feeding with WordPress. I think that the most important thing is for, you to have the passion, right? There are so many free platforms that you can use. So there's Medium today, so you can start off with Medium. There's Medium, there's even free WordPress, WordPress.com, you can start off with that, So there are a couple of platforms, right? You just need to have the passion. The passion will determine how you go. There's also Blogspot, right? So when you have the passion and you can do it consistently, then you can now transit to having a paid blog. But initially you can start off with a free blogging platform, and then you can now take it forward. Yeah. So there are a couple of platforms out there that can help you initially.
Okay.
So you don't have to actually spend money at the word go. You can just start off, and then later on you can now begin to look for a paid platform. But in the beginning, you can start without paying anybody.
Okay, awesome. Tabo from Botswana asks, how do you train your subconscious to identify business opportunities where the normal human may not be able to see one?
Okay, well, so the thing about questions are, the thing about ideas, right? So I think that question is best for a psychologist. I mean, how you train your subconscious? I'm not sure I have an answer to that, but I think that it's from the human perspective, right? I think that it depends on how much of a solution-driven person that you are. So, I mean, and it depends on how you have trained your mind, right? So how composed is your mind when you are in trouble or when you face a troubling situation? When you move along the streets, what opportunities do you see? How do you spot opportunities? When you read an article, how do you interpret it, right? These are all ways and possibilities, right? But the other way is also to be a collaborator. I mean, when you collaborate with people well enough, you probably would leverage on on their strengths, right? So it's about, so for example, I mean, I have a personal policy that I would not do anything alone, right? If I don't have somebody who is ready to, if I don't find somebody who is ready to co-found a business with me or an idea with me, I will not do it, right? I mean, I personally, I think the world is too complex for you to do things solo. So if you're somebody who is a collaborator, you probably would find people who have complementary strength and complementary energy. You know, when you look at most of the top businesses or the top tech startups, tech giants or unicorns as we call them today, many of them are product of partnerships, right? So, for example, if you look at Amazon, you will say, "Oh, Jeff Bezos," right? But the truth is that Jeff also had a couple of mentors and a couple of people, and also plus his ex-wife, that were very, very critical and instrumental to his growth. So you look at Facebook. Facebook had at some point had about four co-founders or three other co-founders with Mark, right? You look at Google, you know. So I mean, look at Microsoft. You just name it, right? There's always a case of people who are collaborating. So I always tell people that yes, you can start alone, but along the line, find a co-founder, maybe with your co-founder, both of you, your strengths can complement with each other, and you can find businesses or ideas where others cannot see ideas.
Okay, yeah, thank you. There's a follow-up question. I think we all know most new businesses fail in their first year or two, especially tech businesses in African countries. Why do you think this is, and how can one ensure that their business survives the first few months?
Okay, so I think it's not just tech business. I think that the stats say that 90% of business will fail in the first 3 to 5 years, depending on how the business is structured, right? But however, even though we know that is the reality, and that is why when you come up with any business, you must be willing to test that business. You must test that business in a number of ways, okay? Don't just rely on the fact that, oh, it's my idea, oh, I love the idea. You must be willing to test that idea. And in your testing, it might help you to, so for example, in Founder Institute, for example, by the second week or by the third week after your vision, right, you will be asked to go out on the streets to try to find people who can pay for that idea or who can pay for that solution. Now, that also does, so for example, I know a business that was doing well pre-COVID. It was it's a renting platform. And COVID happens, and the business stopped. Like everything stopped, revenue dried out 100%. Because the business is a rent business, it's a rented business, right? So people come to rent stuff, right? So, but the chunk of the business of their revenue came from rentals that happened around birthday parties, weddings, celebration and stuff. And as soon as COVID happened, every single thing dried out. So for that business, yes, he had everything going for him. He had good revenue. In fact, his projection was about 18 cities in 12 months. So he had good plans, but nobody, just like nobody saw COVID, he didn't see COVID come, and COVID came, and the business stopped in its track. So there are some failures that are outside your control, right? You really cannot do anything about it, and other than wait it out and see how to pivot, right? So the answer to that question is that there is really no magic answer to how to foolproof your business. But what I'll say is that you've got to keep your ear to the ground, have an open mind, and be ready to pivot. Then leverage mentors a lot, like leverage people who have gone before you. Just try to have people you bounce off ideas with all the time. The founder of TechQuest, Charles, is one guy that I call every now and then to brainstorm with and to ask a few questions. And a couple of times, he gives me ideas, I just go and implement. That's just the way it works, right? You've got to have people around you that you can bounce off ideas. So you don't just wake up and start making decisions, right? One of the reasons why my oil and gas business failed about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, was because I made a lot of decisions that I didn't bounce off people. You know, I felt like a very bright kid. Like many of you watching and listening to me now, you know, I felt very bright. I was in Globalcom. I mean, I made a lot of money in Globalcom. So you know, like I was a star kid, right? So when I transited to business, I didn't see the need to have a mentor. So I just kept, making my decisions on my own, and the business crashed. So that business may not have crashed if I had some important support structures, but it crashed because it was just me, and I thought I was super wise. So one way to do it, be open, have mentors, ready to pivot, and hope for the best. Sometimes failing is part of the process. It's good to fail. You fail, you move on.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that answer. There's a question that we received before the webinar is asking about automation, right? For people who do business like buying and selling, some sort of modified e-commerce business. How can they automate their business processes? Are there, for example, free tools and resources that they can use just to make their business processes smoother?
Okay, yes. So when it comes to automation, I mean, there are a couple of free tools that can be used for automation, right? But sometimes it depends on your kind of business. So I would say that you can start with free tools, and it can be something as simple as using Excel, right, to manage your processes. I mean, if I show you, if I open my phone and show you the front of my phone, it's an office on its own. Like it has everything that you can think of structured in that small box, and sort of manages everything that I do, right? So you can go from free apps to things like Excel to custom solutions that are not very expensive. So I know a couple of startups that I've worked with closely who are also trying to build solutions around that. There's Loystar, there's LimeStart, a couple of startups in that space who are trying to build specifically for people who do trading. Because I think that there is a very huge value that is untapped in that space, right? So because if you aggregate all the markets and all the billions of turnover that they do, there's a very great chance that those guys can actually serve as a means of heavy revenue for startups. So I would say that you can go from free tools to custom tools that are not very expensive. And some of these tools as low as 2,000 naira a month, 1.5 a month, 5K a month. It depends. It just depends on your level of business and your kind of business and what your needs are. But I always say that, so yes, it's easy to get a tool, but one thing that everyone must do is to also have the discipline to follow through. Because a lot of times people don't have the discipline to follow through. Yes, they have tools, but they don't have discipline to follow through, which unfortunately is the case in many times.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Sefe. There's another question for you. Getting a co-founder is a difficult thing in tech. How do you find your co-founders and how do you handle equity splits?
Okay, so again, I think that for me, I approach most things in life from a mindset perspective, right? So like for example, my oil and gas business failed also because I eventually had a wrong partner. So it was a situation of a wrong partner with wrong advice and poor decision making, lack of corporate governance, and the business crashed. But you see, that hasn't changed my mindset around working with people, right? And till date, almost literally everything that I do is partnership, like some form of collaboration, right? And so the first things first, I approach a lot of things in life from a mindset perspective. I don't believe that it is difficult to find co-founders. I also don't believe that partnerships are always go wrong. So there's some things that I mean, for those of us who read the good book, it says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so he is." Right. So it means that for me, I go out trusting and believing for the best. In the same way, I also know that there are good people out there who wants to be co-founder. So one of the first ways that I leverage, I find co-founders is that I leverage my internal network. Right. I look at people that I have worked with or I know in the past who I think will fit a particular position, and I throw open the opportunity to them. So I usually very early on would lay the cards on the table very quickly. So I would do that all the time, right? So very easily, I would just say to Siga, hey guy, I have this opportunity. What do you think? Are you interested? You know, that's really my approach, and sort of it's worked for me. You know, so from Founder Institute to a couple of things that I do, that's how I did it, right? I just threw it open, right? And usually it's worked out well, right? So I would say to you that if you need a co-founder, you know, approach people, and how I handle equity split usually is I usually will vest the equity over a number of years, and the whole idea is to ensure that people have enough commitment. So I usually will vest the equity. It's not usually instant. So I could say, okay, you know what, 20% equity, but then vested over a 5-year period. You know, so you get a share depending on what we agree particularly. So we can start with a 5% for the first year and then break the other one. So it just depends. There's no hard and fast. You just handle it. And that's why you need to always have sound legal advice, right? You need to have a sound legal advice. One of the things that we do at Founder Institute is that once you come in, we provide you with a legal advice that, with a lawyer or a legal company that you can bounce off your legal challenges with. So at all times, because always often, you know, two things. If you miss your incorporation, if you incorporate wrongly, it will affect you as you try to raise funds in future. Also, if you don't have the right co-founding agreement, it would also affect what you do in future as well. So yeah, that's it. I mean, you just have to get legal advice when you are thinking of co-founding.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much, Sefe. There's a follow-up question to the question you just answered. So if you have made a mistake in selecting a co-founder, the person you chose to run the business with has a different vision from what you had in mind and is causing a friction in the business, how do you course correct?
I mean, you get on the conversation table. I mean, so that's the thing about these things, right? If somebody has become your partner, I mean, they become your partner. So if things go wrong, then you guys have to come to a table and have a conversation. And which is why from the word go, I mean, if you coin your legal agreement in the best appropriate way, it sort of makes it easy, right? But if you went into this without that, you know, it makes it difficult. So I would say that if you didn't plan things well and things have gone wrong, you guys should get into the conversation. I mean, have a hard conversation with the people involved.
Awesome. Thank you very much. There's a question from Shola Aderi Bigbe from YouTube. And Shola asks, how can I be digitally trained?
Well, he said, how can you be digitally trained?
Yes.
Well, I mean, there's TechQuest. TechQuest can help you become digitally trained by virtue of becoming a coder, a programmer, artificial intelligence expert, data expert. So there's TechQuest, and a couple of other programs that can help you. I mean, if you want to do social media, digital marketing, there are a couple of other programs that can help you out there. But I think the starting point actually is, what do you do with your time on the internet, right? A lot of times, a lot of young people are usually very distracted, right? So you spend a lot of times, you know, following interesting kind of hashtags on Twitter. You spend a lot of times arguing over certain things that you shouldn't argue over, you know, and so that, and then you end up not achieving a lot every day, right? So the question is, what are you even doing with the very few times you have, right? When you get on YouTube, where do you go to? You know, that's really the big question. I mean, if you can answer that question, then it's easier to now say, okay, you know what, you can now go for these classes, go for that classes, but you can start off with a class. I know Google is doing some free trainings for people. I know Facebook also is doing some free trainings, you know, so there are a couple of opportunities out there. But the question is, what are you even doing with what you have now?
Awesome, thank you very much. Shola, you can also get started by taking relevant digital literacy courses on the TechQuest community portal. So you can proceed to portal.tqstem.org to get started. I mean,
TechQuest is doing an amazing job. So yeah, that's a good place to start.
Thank you very much, sir. Hello, everyone. Kindly please take a few minutes to fill our feedback form as we are coming to the end of today's webinar. The link has been shared in the various chat sections. We would appreciate to get getting some feedback on what things that we can do better and some advice from you as an attendee in today's webinar. As we begin to wind to get to the end of today's webinar, there's a question here. Sefi, can you please clarify? You mentioned around internship opportunities at the Founders Institute. Can you please provide some extra information about that?
Sorry, I was muted. Our second cohort I just ended. It's about to end, so we're going to the third cohort. And usually, somehow for each cohort, we bring in a new intern just to learn about the ecosystem. So our third cohort is supposed to start in July, August. So we are bringing in one, but usually one intern. So it's usually a very competitive process. I think right now we have close to 100 applications already. If you go to my LinkedIn page, you'll find it somewhere. You can just apply. But yeah, it's usually just for one person, but it's usually a lifetime experience because you're going to be an integral part of the process, work with the founders, work with the mentors. I mean, FI is a huge global network, and so it's really a very good opportunity for young people rather than just staying at home and not doing much. Yeah, so that's why we throw it open. We make it a competitive process. I usually take somebody who is driven, who also wants to someday build their own startup. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much, CFA. Could we please just take a minute of our time to fill the feedback form? I've shared the link on our screen so that it can be easy for us all to access. If there are still further questions or comments and feedback questions you would like to ask, please drop them in the chat section and we would attend to them and share that on our website. Okay, so please keep an eye out for on the TechQuest website next week, and we'll provide answers to those questions. With this, we have come to the end of today's webinar discussing about the impact of technology in businesses. On behalf of the entire TechQuest team, I want to say a very big thank you to our facilitator today, CFA. Thank you very much for your time. I know of your busy schedule. Thank you very much for taking this time out to share of your wealth of experience with the audience. And yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Have a great rest of your morning or subsequent webinars. This is a series, and we will still be here also next week to talk about something else. So please follow us on our social media channels at TechQuest Camp. You can also check our website from time to time, tqstem.org, or join our newsletter list so that you'll be on top of every information and development in TechQuest. All right, bye everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you for joining us this lovely afternoon. Bye.